Warning: the video you are about to watch is intended for comedic purposes only. It is not to be taken as advice, as a serious commentary, or to downplay the seriousness of any illness. I'm not a doctor or a historian, so some facts are only as reliable as the sources I read them from. If you think that joking about a pandemic is in poor taste, please leave now. If not, thank you and enjoy. Alright, so for today we're going to do a bit of a themed video. In light of the Covid-19 outbreak that has become a global pandemic, I am going to play as the Plague Doctor, and I'm going to interspace this play with some neat little facts about both plague doctors and how to protect yourself from COVID-19. So, let's get down to business. I am obviously going to play solo because the best way right now to protect yourself and others is to stay isolated and avoid groups as much as possible. So my playstyle is also going to be to avoid people as much as possible. I am not going to let anyone get near me. And if possible, I'll find a nice isolated spot that I can stay indoors. So let's start this off with a little bit of information about plague doctors. Plague doctors were popular in Europe during the outbreak of the bubonic plague, also known as the Black Death, which wiped out somewhere between 30 to 50% of Europe's population. This was before modern medicine. So the idea that they had about germs was that disease was caused by miasma, which was sort of like bad smells in the air. So, to protect against these miasmas, they would actually wear the plague doctor mask, which was tightly cinched around the back of the head and around the neck. And then for the eye holes, they had like glass domes. And then they would put herbs in the end of the beak. Now, sometimes they would even have things like incense or herbs smoldering in the beak, and the smoke would supposedly act as a additional protection. Now, it does actually protect you to some degree to have your face covered, but only because, like, you're not touching your mouth or your eyes. And on top of that, they would wear, like, waxed leather gloves and boots. However, they didn't get the idea to wash the outfits, so they kind of became disease vectors. They would be handling corpses and moving from place to place. And they also used a staff, which is where the pick comes in from the skin. They would have a staff that they would use to move bodies and kind of poke things around to inspect them. And so they wouldn't wash that either. And, you know, they would basically just carry the plague from town to town. And they became associated with plague outbreaks in a very negative way. Okay, well, I don't want this guy to get close to me. I know he's a bot, but... There we go. Gotta go wash my hands after that one. So, an important thing for not spreading the virus is going to be washing... I'm not talking about bubonic plague we're talking about COVID-19 now. The important thing is going to be to wash your hands very frequently, especially if you've been somewhere in public, somewhere like a grocery store, anything like that. You're going to want to make sure to wash your hands very thoroughly, at least 30 seconds. Antibacterial soap isn't 100% necessary. Just washing your hands thoroughly in warm water with soap is honestly enough. You can also use like things like Purell hand sanitizers, but people like me, I actually have psoriasis, which means I can't use things like Purell. It'll dry my hands out too much. But you know, for people that don't have problems like that, you can use it. However, that is people are panic buying. So it's going to become very difficult to get things like that. So just keep in mind, regular plain soap and warm water is more than enough. So obviously, as I mentioned, avoiding large gatherings of people is also important, although you can't always do that. So if you are in a public place, like if you have to go shopping for food, that kind of a thing, you're definitely going to want to avoid touching your face. Now, a lot of people are panicking and buying face masks. Most face masks actually won't help that much. Only certain types of face masks will work. And on top of that, those are getting very scarce as well. So the bigger idea is to just not touch your face. Now, if you think you might be sick, wearing a face mask can be useful to not spread viruses to other people. Places like Asia, if you have a cold, you want to wear a face mask so you're not spreading it to other people, not the other way around. You don't wear a face mask to prevent it, although it can be semi-effective. Now, you'll notice that I am not touching things. I'm using my staff just like the plague doctors would. And that will protect me. Here we go. You can wash your hands in here if you really need to. But my staff will protect me from having to touch anything that may be infected. Now, I can hear lots of people in here, so we're going to try to be careful. You might hear my dog barking in the background. Well, someone else is certainly here. Well, I can hear the boss. Oh. Oh, there she is. See if I can get a shakedown before she disappears. Nah. Oh, forgot about that. So, another interesting fact about plague doctors is that they really weren't around for a very long time. They were really only a thing during the bubonic plague outbreak, but they have become so integrated in culture and so heavily associated with disease that you still see them all the time in all kinds of movies and video games. I mean, obviously even Fortnite. And they really weren't around for a very long time, but they really became such a huge part of culture because they were so creepy and so associated with death and disease. That played a big factor. Now, one of the things that's been going around as a bit of a myth, or really more of a meme, hopefully most people don't believe it, but there's kind of a myth that alcohol and just kind of staying warm will help prevent or treat coronavirus. Now, what this is based on is laboratory testing that alcohol and heat can kill coronavirus. Well, alcohol and heat can kill most viruses. That's why you use hand sanitizer, and that's why your body creates a fever when you're sick. However, you're talking about temperatures where if your body is at that temperature, you're dead. And you're talking about levels of blood alcohol where if your body is at that blood alcohol level, you're dead. So those will not help. If you think that you have coronavirus, or even a severe flu, for that matter, you're going to want to go to the doctor. Preferably a hospital. And if you think it could be corona, you're going to want to call ahead so that they can take appropriate measures so that you're not affecting other people. Oop. Missed the tree on that one. Can I hit the tree with this? Okay, I guess not. I'm not very used to this grappler. I don't grab it very often. So, another myth that I've heard along the lines of heat, I believe, is the relationship. Heat killing the corona. People are saying once the weather warms up that it should eliminate the virus or it'll stop the spread of the virus, but unfortunately that's just not true. The relationship between weather and the flu, for example, is more about people being grouped together indoors, which happens more when it's cold. People also visit each other for Christmas and things like that, and it spreads the virus more. Warm weather will not stop the spread of COVID-19, nor will it eliminate it. So another thing that the CDC recommends is that you cover coughs and sneezes. You don't want to just openly cough and sneeze into the air because that is going to spread contagion. So the thing you want to keep in mind is if you're covering a cough or a sneeze, you also don't want to use your hands because then anything you touch will become infected. So one of the things you can do is cough or sneeze into your elbow, just like you're doing a dab. That's actually really a good way to prevent spreading of diseases. Usually people regard it similar to a vampire holding his cape up over his face. I like to think of it as a little dab. You can do a little dab when you cough or sneeze. And now, another thing that people have been talking about lately is whether or not animals can actually spread coronavirus. It's kind of a topic that's brought up because they theorize that it may have originally spread via animals, but they're talking about things like bats. I know originally they talked about snakes, but now the current theory is like bats or maybe pangolins. But they don't know. They honestly don't know if that's the origin. But one thing that they are pretty confident of is that it doesn't seem to be able to spread through common house pets. So things like dogs or cats. If you think you're sick, you do want to avoid contact with your cat or dog just in case. You don't want to develop a zoonotic version of the disease, which means a version that can spread to animals and from animals to people. That would be very bad. So far, there's no evidence that dogs or cats can be carriers of coronavirus. There was a report that came out that showed a dog that tested weak positive, but that was later discovered to just be that the person that the dog was with had coronavirus, and he had likely picked it up off of surfaces that were infected. The dog itself was not a carrier and was not infected with coronavirus. Or COVID-19. Now, coronavirus is an interesting way of saying it because it is a coronavirus, but there are lots of coronaviruses. A lot of the common cold is a coronavirus. A lot of flus are coronaviruses. Even things like SARS and MRSA were also coronaviruses. Yo, that's not a good situation. So all corona means is it means crown. And the reason that they call viruses coronaviruses is because it looks like a crown when you're looking at the virus close up. The little spires that come off of it look very similar to a crown when you're looking at it. And it's just a type of virus. So the one that they usually talk about when you say it is going to be what they call the novel coronavirus, which just means it's recently discovered. It's not one that we've seen before. The actual term for it would be Covid-19. Okay, I don't think this guy's still in here. Oh wait, is this my structure? No, this is his. I think he's still around somewhere, though. So I don't want to come into contact with people. So oh, that's going to hurt me, isn't it? Oh, yep. I'm going to get out of here. Now, I just want to point out, too, that I am actually talking while I'm playing this. I am re-recording some of the audio, either because it didn't come out or it wasn't clear, or I stumbled over it too much, or I even missaid something. But, yeah, I'm actually talking while I'm playing this and killing people. I just want to point that out. Dang, that... I always forget that you get hurt when you're falling with this thing. It doesn't seem like you should, but you do. Ooh, that was a nice surprise. Unfortunately, these both take the same ammo, which I don't like. It's gonna be like right on the grotto. Well, I guess this will be my chance to find an indoor place to isolate myself, at least. Because you don't get more isolated than in the belly of the grotto. At least this late in the game. But another interesting fact about plague doctors, a lot of people think they were around during the Middle Ages, like the 1400s, when there was a really big bubonic plague outbreak. But they actually weren't around until later. Sometime, I believe it was during the late 1600s or during the 1600s. They were invented by a doctor then. But yeah, during the Middle Ages, they actually did not have plague doctor outfits. That's a common misconception. Oh. Damn it. Well, at least it didn't hit me. This could be a problem if I have to get out of here quickly, but... I wish I took that disguise. I didn't think there'd be any of those left. Now, one thing to keep in mind is there is no vaccine for COVID-19 yet. However, it has been discovered that people who have been infected with it once don't seem to be able to be infected with it a second time, which means your body does produce a immunity to it. So it theoretically is possible to create a vaccine for it. It just has not been developed yet. And even once it's developed, then it actually has to be mass-produced and distributed, which does take time. So for now, it's all about proper hygiene measures. That's going to be your most important way of staying safe. And just, general precautions. There's no reason to panic. It is a good idea to have a little bit of a food supply in case you do have to self-quarantine. Like less perishable goods, but there's no reason to go out and panic buy a million things. You just want to have a little stockpile. Like, I have a little bit of pasta and some Spam. Those things will last, forever in a pantry. So even if you don't need it now, you can have it if you need it in the future. And that's the thing. The CDC and a lot of places actually tell you should keep a supply of fresh water and non-perishable food just to be safe in case of a disaster. Because even if you had something like an earthquake or something where it would be difficult to go out and go shopping, that'll help keep you alive. Now, it might seem a little contradictory because I'm saying, not to panic, but to take precautions. And there is a difference between panicking and just being smart about it. They were originally saying there's only a 2%, but now they're saying a 3.4%, somewhere around there, of people actually passing away from it. But that's if you're healthy. So you really want to stay safe so you stop the spread, especially to people who are older or have a weakened immune system. Now, funny enough, there's actually nothing that says hiding in a cardboard box will keep you from getting infected with any virus. As much as it might seem like a good idea, it doesn't help. It's kind of hard to edit in here. It won't let me there. Well, it's down to me and 2 other people. So, 1 in 3 chance of me winning. I mean, depending on skill, if they're really good, I guess less than that. But I'm going to go ahead and say, if I manage to win this match, I am predicting that we'll all be fine. And if I lose this match, then, anyone ever read The Stand by Stephen King? Sounds like they found each other. I don't know if this guy can get down here at me. Without going into the storm, anyway. It might come down to a heal off, which isn't great because I don't have any healing. However, well, thanks to my strategy of trying to avoid people, I actually do have full health. So if he's injured and I'm at full health and neither of us have any healing, I might be able to pull this off. Actually, there might be healing in here. What am I doing? Nah. Well, if he has to come in here after me, he's going to be in for a surprise. He's still looking for me. He has no idea where I am. I'll just freak him out a little bit. Yeah, I don't think he can get to me without running in the storm, which obviously is going to kill him at this point. Well, this is a weird place for it to circle. Oh. I think... No, he's still above. Yeah, no, he can't come to me. Well, this is interesting. He actually might have the advantage because I don't think I can get quite right in the center. Oh, maybe I can. Well, hopefully he doesn't have any healing. And I have more health. Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah. Well, here we go, guys. Let's see. Oh. And that was sadly my first solo, because I have not been playing solos. I've mostly been playing Team Rumble to grind out levels. Oh, man. I wouldn't call it, like, a great victory, but not bad. Well, there you go. I guess we're all safe. That's all there is for today. So if you enjoyed this very unusual video, and I mean, if you think it's funny that I won that match with barely any kills, then make sure to leave a like. If you like this kind of stupid content, make sure to subscribe, because that's what I'm good at, is making stupid content. Make sure to hit the bell too, because I upload kind of irregularly, but I'll eventually have a schedule. And other than that, have a good one.